I'm Luis Scott, managing partner of Bader Scott Injury Lawyers, one of the fastest growing law firms in the country, and I'm also the co-founder of 8-Figure Firm Consulting. I've successfully built multiple companies by focusing on leadership, operations, and culture. Using these principles, my companies have generated close to $100 million in revenue. But before any of this success, I started my legal career as a receptionist, and I worked my way up to becoming managing partner. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with leaders and entrepreneurs who have had the guts to step out on their own and the courage to face adversity. They share with us their tips for achievement, the challenges they have faced, and the glory of success. I welcome you to the Guts and Glory Show. Luis Scott here, host of the Guts and Glory Show. I feature top leaders who share the obstacles and challenges of leadership, the guts it takes to succeed, and the glory of success. Today, you will hear another inspiring interview from attorney and author and real estate investor, Audrey Chisholm, who is literally changing the lives of millions of people around the country by helping individuals start a nonprofit of their own. But before we get started, a message from our sponsor, 8-Figure Firm Consulting. At 8-Figure Firm, we help law firms take their business from 7 to 8 figures by keeping lawyers away from the work they hate so that they can focus on the impacts they love. You know, I remember starting my law firm and having to work 70, 80 hours a week to try to make partner. And then I realized that I didn't even know what I was doing. I had no idea how to run a business. And Audrey, as a lawyer, you probably understand this concept. You're starting a business. You have no idea what's going on. And
Absolutely.
At 8-Figure Firm, and at 8-Figure Firm, what we do is we help people develop a business that works for them instead of them working for the business. So turn your law firm into a law business by going to 8figurefirm.com. So today I have the pleasure of introducing not only our guest, but a good friend of mine, Audrey Chisholm, who's the owner and CEO of Chisholm Law Firm based out of Orlando, Florida. She's also a real estate investor and author of Start a 501c3 Nonprofit That Doesn't Ruin Your Life. In addition to being an incredible businesswoman, Audrey was awarded the Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition by the United States House of Representatives for her work in the community. She was nominated for the Presidential Citizenships Medal by the White House and President Barack Obama. She was also featured in Black Enterprise and was the recipient of the Mayor's Humanitarian Award. Ooh, this list is, this is long. She was also the recipient of Orlando Magic's NBA Team Magic Maker Award for her contributions to the community. So let's welcome Audrey to the show. Welcome to the Guts and Glory Show.
So happy to be here.
I love having people who have a laundry list of achievements because I think that it just shows the body of work. And as entrepreneurs, we really all strive to have that kind of list. What's the proudest moment that you've had out of all those things that I mentioned?
Wow. You know what? It's probably one of the ones that you didn't mention, which is that I'm a wife. My husband and I have been married now for 13 years and a mom of 3 beautiful girls. So that one would be at the top.
Audrey, thank you so much for that. It's so true. Having balance in your life is really important. And I appreciate that. That is one of the greatest achievements you've had because you're really making a difference, not only in the community, but also in your family. So that's really great. So we're here to talk about entrepreneurship in a way that I've never really thought about. I never thought about starting a nonprofit as being an entrepreneurial type of endeavor, but it's absolutely takes that mindset. All of the things that you would consider an entrepreneur, it takes that type of person to really start a nonprofit. And you help people do that. So I'm curious for you to tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people start their nonprofit.
Sure, absolutely, Louis. So I'm the founder of Chisholm Law Firm, and we are a law firm that helps people start and grow nonprofits that impact the world. So basically just regular people that want to make a difference, rather it's starting a foundation, a charity, a church, a school, you name it, they come to us and say, hey, this is my idea. This is how I want to impact the world. And then our legal team, we help them make it happen.
Now, what really inspired you to get into that? Because a lot of times, I'm not going to say a lot of times. When I was going to law school, I don't remember there being a class on helping people start nonprofits. I actually didn't know that lawyers did this. And I was a lawyer before I found out that there were lawyers who did this. So what helped you get started in this type of law?
Sure, absolutely. So for me, I started my own nonprofit. So when I was in college, I was 17 years old, and I just really felt like that inspired me to start my own nonprofit called Revolution Leadership. And when I started that nonprofit, it was really hard, really hard. I mean, just so many things I didn't know about the compliance and paperwork. And I mean, just, it's a laundry list of things. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so then when I went to law school, I kind of chose to, niche down and start learning about it. And it was something that I was already doing, and everyone knew, oh, Audrey's a nonprofit person, because I was always talking about my own nonprofit. And so then as soon as I started my law firm, I actually thought I was going to be doing another type of law. But the first thing people started reaching out to me about was, hey, can you help me start my nonprofit? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And, one person just turned into, another person and another person. And now, we're just really proud of being able to help a lot of people make this happen.
And that's awesome. And, if you go on your website, you've helped thousands of people start their nonprofit, and you have done it with 100% success rate. Like, that is unheard of in the industry. What makes your process so different than other people?
Sure. I think a benefit that we have is actually having taken the time to get really, really good at what we do. So a lot of law firms, they, you can go to them for your divorce and, immigration paperwork and a criminal case and all these different things. And it's really hard to kind of get into the nuances of a body of law if you do so many different things. But for us, that's really the main thing that we do. So it's just allowed over the years us to, really develop best practices and systems around getting it right. And then from there, since we've helped so many different nonprofits, it would be really, really rare for us to see, a situation that we haven't already encountered.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'll talk a little bit about the nonprofit you helped us start. But before I ask that question, you mentioned Revolution Leadership. That's your nonprofit that you started when you were 17, you said?
Absolutely.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about that nonprofit.
Yeah. So for me, when I went to college, my parents had gone to college out of state, and we moved to Florida because my dad was in the military. So there was so much about the process that I didn't know. I was the first one in my family to go away to college. And so the whole process of just navigating financial aid, paying for school, becoming a leader on campus, all of these things, and still managing to, be involved in your community while not, going crazy. It was just so much I had to figure out. And so for me, I said, you know what? I felt like I was learning so much. And I was like, wow, I wish I had known these things when I was in high school. So, the idea was to just, as I was learning, to teach the things that I was learning along the way, and just to kind of pass them on to high schoolers that were right behind me so that they could have an easier path. So for me, I was fortunate to graduate from Florida State University and law school debt-free. So that's a lot of what we teach students how to do, how to avoid, student loans and all that to get out without, having that type of debt, as well as leadership development, career success, entrepreneurship. Those are really the key, principles of Revolution Leadership.
I just want to make sure people don't gloss over what you just said. I graduated from undergrad and law school debt-free. Like, her organization helps people learn those skills. Like, if there's ever a time for us to learn not to be in debt out of school, it's now. So like, if you're interested in more information about that nonprofit, how would they be able to get in touch with you regarding your nonprofit?
Sure. The best way to reach out is our website, revolutionleadership.org.
Awesome stuff. So there you go. You can get in touch with her. And if you are a parent and you have kids in high school, I'm assuming those are the people that need to reach out to you. And your nonprofit's literally changing the lives of many students. So that's amazing work. In addition to that, not just starting your own nonprofit. I'm more excited than I need to be about this, but I think it's such a huge service that you provide. You help people start their own nonprofits. Hundreds of thousands of people are being positively impacted because of the work that you've done over the years. So what are some things that people need to know if they want to start their own nonprofit? What are some good tips?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I'd want someone to know is that it doesn't have to be hard. Okay. So a lot of people, when I started mine, it felt really hard. Everything about the process. What are the legal requirements, and what do you have to file, and how do you do it? What are the rules with the board? How do you get a board? It's just so much information overload. And especially now that we are, able to just kind of type things in, and there are all these blog articles about this, that, and the other. It doesn't have to be hard, because, the best way to do it is really to, find an expert, someone that already has a system. They can take you through that system, and you can get set up, painless. Stress thing I would say would just be, so the first thing I would say is just, finding an expert that can help you, because that can make the process nice and smooth. And then the next thing that I would say would be just know that it's needed. If you have, a passion, if there's something that you care about, don't just ignore that feeling and say, oh, well, someone else will do it, or someone else is addressing it. I mean, if someone was already addressing it, you wouldn't be thinking that we cared about. Then if everyone kind of chipped in and did the thing that they were passionate about, then everyone would be really helping to make our community better. So, yeah.
I agree with that. I remember listening to Les Brown. He's one of my favorite speakers. And he always said that the greatest tragedy on earth is dying with your passion still inside of you. Like, that's the greatest tragedy. And I agree with that. There's so many people with great passions that don't live out their passions because of fear. They don't know what to do. And I absolutely agree. If you have a passion and you want to do something for your community, there are people out there who want to help. And there are services out there who are ready to help you. I'm a client of yours, and so I need to say that on the air. We started the Bader Scott Foundation for my law firm, and to help people in our community here in the Atlanta area. And you helped us, and it was such a seamless process. I would recommend you to anyone blindly. But why should a person use an attorney versus just doing it on their own, or helping, getting a friend? There are friends out there who quote unquote, help people start nonprofits. Where does a law firm really make the difference?
Sure. That's a great question. Well, the best way to answer that question is to tell a story. One of our clients, I'll never forget, she called our office, and I spoke to her, and she told me about the nonprofit she wanted to start. I was like, great, that sounds good. And then she was almost in tears. She said, but I'm not sure that, it'll work, that this can happen. And I said, why? And she told me because she had hired 5 other people before us, and none of them could get it done. And I was like, really? She said she hired a CPA, so just another friend that said they do it for free. And then I forgot who the last person was, but it was 5 different vendors. And some of them, did the paperwork wrong, so it was denied. Some of them took her money and never returned her phone call. Some of them just, said, hey, I can't do this, and gave everything back to her. So she had spent all of that time just trying to get the process done. And here was someone that wanted to change the world and almost felt that she couldn't do it. So the first reason I would say to hire a law firm to do it is because, one, we actually have expertise in the law. That's going to be the biggest hang up that nonprofits have is, when you're setting up a nonprofit, there's state law and federal law involved. It's a lot going on. And so you want someone that actually understands that instead of just copying and pasting on forms or just putting things together. We had another client, he's like an elderly gentleman. And I remember he came to me and he was like, oh, I want you to, do my nonprofit. I was like, great, happy to help. He's like, but wait, I already have a part of it done. And I was like, okay, well, let me review everything, and I'll take a look and see where you are with it. I looked at his paperwork, and I think he also had an accountant do his paperwork for him, took a look at everything. Turns out he didn't have a nonprofit set up. They had set up his foundation as what's called an S corporation. That's actually a business entity. So that means that legally all the money that he was collecting and donations and everything, that was all actually taxable income to him personally, because he was structured the wrong way. I mean, he had no idea, and we had to go through this entire process to undo everything and file all the right things, et cetera, to get him taken care of. But that all could have been avoided by him actually going to someone that really has that expertise, and not just, a generalistic perspective, but actually understanding the law, understanding the IRS code to structure it exactly the way he needed to, so he didn't have any problems.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, because I always tell people I can change my own oil in my car, but I go to a mechanic to do that.
Absolutely.
Because they change the oil every day. Like, they're an expert on that. And so I think that that's so true. Now, what's one of the craziest stories that you've heard in starting your own nonprofit instead of going to a lawyer?
Sure. So one of the craziest stories I heard was there was one nonprofit in particular that they, decided they were going to do everything themselves. And they didn't know all the things that they needed to do. So they just started operating, and, they just started doing their own thing. And then, a global kind of, natural disaster occurred. And overnight, their GoFundMe account went from nothing to over $1 million.
Wow.
And they had no idea what to do because they hadn't, hired anyone to help them. Well, actually, they had hired they did hire another attorney or someone to do it. That person charged them over $10,000 and still didn't do anything. So nothing was done. They had over $1 million in their account, and GoFundMe was like, we can't release this to you until you have the right documentation and everything is in place.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that was probably one of the craziest situations. And we had to jump in and get everything taken care of and everything done right. So that way they could actually get the funds and disperse it to the people that needed it.
And you need to be very careful because just recently in the news, there was an issue with the GoFundMe account where the people took the money, they didn't use it correctly and actually got arrested for that. So
Oh,
you
of
need to
course.
make sure that your nonprofit is in the place that it needs to be. Now, you wrote a book on this. It's Start a 501c3 That Doesn't Ruin Your Life. Tell us a little bit about that
Absolutely.
book and what's the purpose of the book?
Yeah, Louis, the purpose is just to give plain English, simple advice that everyone can understand on how to start a nonprofit in a way that doesn't ruin your life. I literally walk through all of the pitfalls, the most common mistakes that we've seen, and then share with people how to avoid them. So we talk about the actual things you need to file every year, the things you need to do to protect your brand, how you need to structure it, the things you need to do to avoid lawsuits. And we actually spell out the 16 most common ways that nonprofits get into legal trouble and how to avoid them. So really, it's an easy go-to guide for anyone that's interested. And it also kind of just takes away, all the fears, because we often fear the unknown. So before you start one, you're like, oh, well, I don't want to get in trouble, or I don't want to make a mistake, or what have you. Well, this book really, covers all of that. So that way you can have the confidence to know, okay, I'm doing it the right way. I'm good to go.
That's awesome. And you help clients nationally. So if someone's in California and they want information on how to start a 501c3 and they want to read your book, it's going to be beneficial to them, right?
Absolutely. You've got it. All 50 states and US territories.
So they should go to Amazon.com, I'm assuming, to get the book. They can
Absolutely.
find
Well,
it
you
there.
know what, Louis, I set up something a little special for, for all of your listeners and supporters here in the podcast. So if they actually want to get a free paperback copy,
Oh, wow.
you can go to Amazon.com. And if you go to Amazon.com, you're going to pay $23 for this. All right. It's over 220 pages. But for your viewers, if they want to grab a copy of it, they can go to a special site we set up, starta501c3nonprofit.com. And on that site, the book will be absolutely free. All they do is pay for shipping.
So just listening to this show, you just made $23. All you got to do
That's
at the very minimum.
Absolutely.
That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that offer. Really appreciate that. And I'm going to encourage all the listeners to go out and get a copy of the book. And we'll get you to plug that website at the end one more time, and we'll put it down in the link below. Now, as a high-profile entrepreneur, you're involved in real estate. You're an author. You have a law firm, growing law firm, $1 million law firm. What are some of the biggest challenges at winning at the game of business? Because people are listening to this show and they want to know how to win, whether it's a nonprofit or in traditional business. What are some of the biggest obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest thing is just not knowing what to do. At least that was for me. Like, I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I was passionate. And I knew how to help people, but I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do to get, clients for my firm. I didn't know what to do to, hire people, or to get money to hire people, or to build a team. And, how can I find someone who can do the work at the same quality that I would? Because I know how much I care about our clients, but if I delegate this, maybe they'll mess it up. Maybe they won't care the way that I care. I mean, it was just not knowing, how to build a business, really. And so my first year of running the law firm, I think I made like $12,000. And I remember telling my husband, I mean, I was working hard, like just going to networking events, passing out business cards, speaking engagements, you name it. And I remember telling my husband, I'm like, you know what? I might just need to get a job. Like, this is not working out for me. And I'm so thankful that he encouraged me. And I always refer to it as talking me off the ledge. But, every year when I was like, I'm going to put my resume in somewhere, this entrepreneurship thing is not working out, he just really encouraged me to stick with it. And that was helpful. But yeah, just not knowing, how to grow a business, I think is one of the biggest challenges.
That's so true. When we face obstacles, our first inclination is to either want to quit or to hide or not do something. And this morning I was listening to something, a video. I try to listen to some motivational stuff every morning. And on there, the guy who was speaking said, every entrepreneur, every king, every queen, every giant has had the desire to quit at one point. Just don't quit. just don't
Right.
quit. And that's so powerful, that you don't have to know everything to be successful. You just have to be willing to not quit. And so I appreciate you
Absolutely.
saying that. Now, in the process of not quitting, I'm sure you had to make a lot of gutsy decisions. So I'm curious, whether professionally or personally, like, what was the gutsiest thing you ever had to do?
Wow. Oh man, there's a list of them. But I would say in my personal life, I think it would be when my husband and I decided to have a family. That was a really big
Mm,
deal for me because I think society tells you, at least if you're a woman, that you have to choose. You know, you're either going to have this great career or you're going to have a great family, but there's no way that you can have both. And
mhm.
for me, my mom was primarily a stay-at-home mom, and she was phenomenal. So I really wrestled with that, just thinking, I want to be a
Right.
great mom like her, but I also want to have a successful business. So how can I really,
Mm.
have the best of both worlds? So that was a real, it took a lot of faith to kind of step out and do that. But what my husband and I learned is that, you can really have, whatever, you can have your cake and eat it too. So meaning,
Yeah.
if you want to have a great family life and a great business, you can have both. You don't have to choose.
That's really an inspiration. As a man, I'm just going to be honest. It's something I never even thought about. I don't think about those things because I'm not in that position. And it is absolutely true that women have to face challenges that men don't. And it is just a powerful testament to your desire to win in both family and profession. And so that is truly a gutsy decision. And I think that there are a lot of women out there wrestling with the same thing. And I think it's powerful to know that you can do both and you can win at both things. So that's an amazing story. Now, along the way, um, I have found this to be true in my life. And I think that many of the people that I interview find this to be true as well. And that's that mentors play a huge part in getting us to the next level. You mentioned your husband, really encouraging you, but other outside of your husband, what other kind of mentors have you had in your life? And what have they told you that really helped you push through those pain points or even get started? Like, who was in your life that helped you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was fortunate to have great parents. So I would start there.
Mm,
Just growing up, they always just told me there was nothing I couldn't do if I put my mind to it. So that
mm,
was a huge help. I think next would be my faith in God. So because I read the
awesome.
Bible, there's a passage about a Proverbs 31 woman. And if you read the description of this woman, I mean, she really had it all. She was a merchant, which is like an entrepreneur. She had staff and employees. She owned property. So she was a real estate investor. Plus she was married. Plus she had a family. And I would just always look at that passage of text and say, you know what, like if she can do it, like, and the scriptures are saying she's like the ideal woman, then I know those things are possible for me too. So that's helped me a lot, my faith in God. I would say the next thing, of course, is just my husband. I mean, he's been super supportive anytime I've wanted to
Mm,
quit. He's always encouraged me. And he was actually the first business owner that I saw that, really built a business, without him. Like he had started a
mm,
school and, he just from the very beginning hired staff, with
wow.
a full business model to not be on campus. And it just blew my mind. And I had been running my law firm for a few years and I was like, wow, what a concept. So that really inspired me to kind of start, seeking some other ways to do things. And then from there, just getting specific with,
Mm.
attorneys and mentors and folks to help. And of course, I mean, Lewis, I'm a client of 8 Figure Firm. I mean, I cannot say enough about the impact that you all have made. Probably at the end of last year, my firm, we were at $786,000 for the year. And that was just the peak.
Wow.
That was as far as I could go. And so then, I started working with you all this year and we have more than doubled. I mean, the year's
That's
not even over
amazing.
yet. We're already at 1.6 million. We're going to break 2 million. This is
Mm.
our first 7-figure year. So now I'm ready to get into the 8-figure stuff. And, but it's just awesome. So just, from the day I first met you, I mean, you were just super generous with sharing information and, sharing about your experience and just helpful tips and knowledge. And then working with you through your coaching program, I have been nothing but pleased. I just sent another referral today. Like I was like, you've got to talk to them.
Oh,
They're the best.
awesome.
They know everything. But that would be my advice to anyone. I mean, now my strategy in life is if there's something that you want to do that you are not getting the results that you want,
Mm.
I've gone through the path of, watching YouTube videos and Googling free articles and trying to figure it out yourself. No, the fastest way to get the result that you want is to find whatever expert that already has the results you want, pay them whatever they ask, so that you can get good guidance and get there, without the headache and without the hassle. So hands down, that's been the most impactful, business decision for the law firm.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. And that includes starting a nonprofit. You need to find the expert that can help you do that. So thank you so much, Audrey. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. As always, it's always great talking about things that inspire you to inspire other people. And for those of you guys who have been listening at the tail end, this is Audrey Chisholm, entrepreneur and author of Start a 501c3 Nonprofit. Audrey, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to connect is I'm on, social media under Audrey K. Chisholm, but also just follow the law firm. So it's Chisholm Law Firm, spelled Chisholm. And so we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, or check out our law firm site, which is chisholmfirm.com.
And I don't want to miss the opportunity to, once again, the free offer for your book. Tell us that site one more time.
That's it. So any listeners of Lewis's podcast, check out Start a 501c3 Nonprofit.com. It's a special landing page we set up. This is our book, our best-selling book. This book was the #1 bestseller in the nonprofit and leadership management category on Amazon in the entire world. So a lot of people have already gotten copies of it. And so anyone listening, check out that site, Start a 501c3 Nonprofit.com. And instead of paying $23 for the paperback version, not the ebook, this actual book that I'm holding right here, 220 pages of legal gems. Instead of paying $23 plus shipping, check out the site. You'll get the book for free, which is shipping.
Audrey, thank you so much for that offer. Be sure you don't miss out on that great offer for the listeners listening today. There you have it, guys. You can start a nonprofit, be on the way to helping hundreds, if not thousands of people with the help of lawyers like Audrey Chisholm. Anyone can do it, but it's going to take guts, courage, and hard work. And remember, if you love this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show.
You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show with Louise Scott. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share. For more information on this episode, please see the show notes at www.gutsandgloryshow.com. And join us next time as we talk to another leader in business that had the guts to overcome all odds for the glory of success.